Peasant Productions presents the Math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe. I've been talking about imaging and how some of this stuff kind of has to be very exact in what you are doing in order to achieve the proper results. Going to branch off into a little different direction here, which will be a little more mathematical implications to it, but I'm going to try and keep this at a everyday, every person type level of understanding without getting too crazy like I'm some kind of scientist with really big words. I don't want to do that. We have here, like I said, the basic math. I've added a new line in here and I made a correction I didn't have there. Okay, A always equals A. An absolute always equals an absolute. A B, whatever, okay? And you have to have this A and A, B and B arrangement. You cannot have A plus B and then, I'm sorry, B plus A and then A plus B, because you are in different places. A plus B plus C, which is why I started to talk about time travel. The C person, obviously you can't have that original A plus B. You also can't have the C over here in front of it happening before it happens. And I'll get a little into that as I'm starting to discuss stuff. You also cannot have A plus B does not equal A plus B plus C minus C. You can't put something in and take it back out and have it equal this, because you still have this event recorded in the data of that existence of that event. So this is why time travel is possible, but you will never go back in time and affect the timeline that you're actually in. You will go back in time and split off into a new universe, a whole new existence, okay? Now, part of the reason why, and I'm a big sci-fi reader, I've read a lot, I know an awful lot of the ideas of people doing the, oh darn, I lost the word. Dyslexia number 101 here. The coincidences of life, okay? The situation where it just happens to happen, okay? Now, the reason it cannot be is, first of all, in order to time travel, you have to go back in time to a specific point in time, okay? That exact moment has already passed by. You cannot go back there, okay? It does not matter what your scientists want to tell you about how, ooh, we stopped an atom in a laser beam. Did the scientists stop moving? No. Whatever they had focused their energy on stopped moving around, and it probably vibrated so slow they didn't realize it was still moving because it's still a part of existence. Okay? But the scientists continued to move and walk around the science lab. The world continued to turn. The universe continued to grow. The solar system continued to spin. The galaxy continued to spin. The galaxy continued to move outward in whatever direction that is, or if it's a collapsing point in time in a universe, it was collapsing back in. Okay? So you are never in exactly the same place at any given moment. You're there, and then you are here, and it progresses on. There are too many things in moment, and there are too many things in placement in a single universe. And when you step outside this universe, like I said, chaos can't have limits. So a scientist that can only measure one universe can claim there's only one universe, but he can't prove there's only one universe because he doesn't have any idea, any ability, any tool to get outside of the universe. Does he? No. Scientists talk about how the edge of the universe, okay, there's an edge, there's a wall, there's a stop. What's on the other side of that, scientist? Oh, yeah. They forget that when you get to the edge and there's a wall, there has to be something on the outside. Something exists out there if there's a wall, folks. It doesn't matter. If you have a wall around your house, there's something outside the house. If you have a wall around your country, there's something outside that country. If you have a wall around your bubble at the bottom of the ocean, there's something outside that wall of that bubble. There is always something on the other side. That is why chaos has no wall. Therefore, you will never find a limit, an edge, an outside portion or partition or fuzziness or anything. Because when you try and get there, there will simply be something more. Okay? Chaos is conscious. Okay? It is a mass of energy that is conscious of the fact that it exists. Therefore, it knows to move out there. It understands. It doesn't have limits. It's going to continue to grow. You're going to have as many universes as absolutely, incredibly, unbelievably possible. Because if you didn't, you would have a limit. That's simple, okay? So, exact time, exact place have to be there. And you have to understand, you know, like I said, there's the solar rotation, there's the galaxies rotating, there's all these different things. The planet is turning around, all these massive things. Now, quick say, okay, the universe expands going outward. Then it contracts back in. This is one of the theories they have about this particular universe, okay? When it contracts back in, we don't all go backwards in time. I don't start out crawling out of my grave and I've got my gray hair and, you know, 50 years from now I'm a 10-year-old kid again. It doesn't happen. You are always progressing forward. The universe might be contracting, but time is still proceeding forward. Time exists without you defining that it's your clock, okay? Again, scientists are extremely limited in their belief. They're extremely limited in their acceptance of other things because they want to say it can only be, it can only be, it can only be. No, it can be anything in existence because existence is beyond your ability to imagine. Just as a God is more than a body. The person that says there is no God, they're welcome to believe that. But how do you prove there's no God? You are bigger than a God. Therefore, the person that says, oh, there is no God, the atheist, is only talking about their own personal experience. They do not have the ability to step outside of themselves and examine whether or not that happens. A Buddhist, a person that meditates, a Taoist, a spiritual entity of a lot of the native stuff. We all do spirit realm walking. We know there's something beyond this physical realm. Therefore, we are more experienced. Nikola Tesla, 100 years ago or so, made the comment that when science stops trying, and I'm paraphrasing this, when science stops trying to make everything just the physical world, and they realize there is something beyond the spiritual world, they will learn more in one day than they learned in the past 200 years. Okay? Now, like I say, people are kind of gullible, and it's pretty easy to believe bizarre things. Okay. When photography first came out, some little girls sat there and drew pictures of fairies on paper, and they cut them out, and they put them in plants, and they sat there and they, looked like they were talking, and they took pictures. Well, to this day, there's still people that believe that those little drawings of fairies are real fairies. There was a big stink way back then because nobody was willing to stop and examine the actual issue that they were hand-drawn. colored in. They were, you know, I mean, I looked at it and I doubled over laughing to think that that was going on. And unfortunately, now I have to look at the world around me and realize you people are every bit as gullible. You want 10-second memes. Don't make me think. Okay, so you know you've got that fairies photos. You've got the flat Earth people. Think about this, okay? Flat Earth people say that the United States government has a conspiracy that everybody has to believe the world is flat, that the world is round, but it's actually flat. Now, number one problem here. There are millions of people with cameras all over this world taking pictures of all kinds of different things that disprove any kind of flat Earth, okay? B, there are people like me that know at least 12 different groups of people that have sailed around the world in their own boat, okay? Which means there are millions of people that can get into a boat and go sail down to the South Pole or the North Pole and look and say, hey, wow, there's an ice wall. I got my own camera even. I took a picture. And Western Europe, just Western Europe, has been sailing around the world for 500 years. Now the United States is only 200 and a few more years old. Okay, 241 years, but this conspiracy that there's a round world goes back 500 years because every single person that sailed around the world is a lunatic. They didn't really do it. They're part of a American conspiracy. That's how easy and gullible humans are at not wanting to think. How easy is it to disprove a flat Earth person? Very simple. Go from the North Hemisphere to the South Hemisphere. There's a thing called the Coriolis effect. Hurricanes in the north spin counterclockwise. Hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons as they're called, cyclones and typhoons depending on which ocean and which part of the world you're in, spin clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Now all you have to do is go from the north to the south and pour some water down a drain and you'll see the same thing. On a flat Earth that can't happen. Absolutely can't. There is no physical law that would allow that to happen. Why? Because that Coriolis effect is the spin of the planet itself. It causes something to happen like that. Okay? You can also discredit flat Earth people by the simple fact you have changing seasons. Your sun goes up and, let's see, north and south, yeah, up and down, okay? On a flat Earth, how is that possible? They all tell you, oh, if the world was round, all the oceans would fall off. Okay, fine. So the flat Earth can do this and the oceans don't fall off. But a sphere, which everything is absolutely obvious on, it can't exist because the oceans would fall off. So that's how illogical a human being who wants to rationalize instead of logic an idea. Okay? You're that simple, you're that far out of it, and because of that, and like I said, this is going to take 3 or 4 videos to do this, at that obvious amount of situation, you cannot go back and directly affect your own timeline. You can go back in time and create a new timeline, and in that one you will experience whatever you effectively change, okay? But the one you left never changed. It still exists. Okay, yeah. That's a good one for that. That's a wrap on this one. Peasant Productions.